section provides a brief introduction to nested queries, a tool used to make compact modular SQL code. This brief presentation was organized by Dr. Lenny. It was narrated by Samantha Tone. It is possible, although not computationally desirable, to write a query that contains another query. This kind of coding may be referred to as an inner or nested query. Nested queries are compact code, meaning that the code is written in few lines of instructions, but take the same time to process as less compact code. A nested query is marked by parentheses before and after the code. SQL will execute the code inside the parentheses first before evaluating the code outside the parentheses. The code inside parentheses must be able to function by itself. The code outside the parentheses uses values inside the nested code and therefore depends on the nesting. It cannot function by itself. Nested queries can occur in select, from, or where commands. For example, suppose we want to count the number of patients who have hypertension. Note that this includes patients who have a diagnosis of hypertension in the current or previous years. The unnested code takes 2 steps. The first step identifies if the patient was hypertensive in any particular year. The second step examines if the patient has a history of hypertension in prior years and calculates the indicator ever hypertensive from both the history and current year hypertension. Note that to accomplish this, we had to join the file containing diagnosis of hypertension in any particular year with itself. Note that to accomplish this, the history is in the file with the alias B. The current year has alias I. The join says that we should examine data from all ages of the patient prior to the current age. The 2-step calculations was completed in 32 seconds. Now we will see how the nested query looks like and how long it will take to do the same analysis. The nested query puts the first step into the second step and creates one query. The first step used to put the data into a temporary file called #inner. Now the same code shows up here, but now inside the parentheses. As before, we have assigned the alias A. The same file is also repeated with alias B and joined to itself. The computer will execute the code within parentheses first. This will make the fields age and height available for the hour code to use. The hour code uses the data from alias A to indicate current year, and the data from alias B to indicate all prior years. So now it can calculate both the history and current year diagnosis of hypertension, and as before, it can calculate if the patient was ever hypertensive at any particular age. The same results are obtained. The code is more compact, but note that it took 53 seconds to run the nested query. It took nearly double the amount of time to do the same calculations. In part, this was because we had to go twice through the first step so that we could join it with itself. The reality, however, is that nested queries are not computationally more efficient. Analysts who use it do so because they prefer to accomplish the various data manipulation steps in fewer steps. They can make the code shorter and more compact, but nested queries don't make the code faster. In massive data, we do not recommend the use of nested queries. Nested queries can reduce use of temporary files and coding steps.